Something that a friend of mine brought up to me, actually last night, how I can identify as a social justice person and be a Christian at the same time. Well, and how do the two go together?
I think you should really look into writing articles for the Huffington Post. They really like people who think like you.
Well, first off, I just want to lead you to Proverbs 31, 8 through 9. It says, "Open your mouth for the mute, for the rights of all who are destitute. Open your mouth, judge righteously, defend the rights of the poor and the needy." I'll say it again. It's Proverbs 31, 8 through 9. And let me read it one more time for you guys. It says, "Open your mouth for the mute, for the rights of all who are destitute. Open your mouth, judge righteously, defend the rights of the poor and needy."
Okay, I'm gonna stop fucking with you and directly address the verses that you quoted. The key words in those verses are mute, destitute, poor, and needy. Of those four words, three describe the economic state or class of the person. The other one describes an inability that could be due to physical or mental impairment, or the social and or political status of the person. You can see that these two verses put a primary emphasis on those that are poor, aka of a disadvantaged economic class. And it places a secondary emphasis on mental and physical disability as well as social and political disadvantage. To put it in modern social justice terms, that verse is more concerned with the class of the person and the ability of the person, which to mainstream social justice is of less importance when compared to race, gender, and sexuality. To see why this is significant, let's compare talk show host Oprah Winfrey with some white homeless man. Let's compare them through the lens of Proverbs 31 verse 8 to 9. Oprah is a rich woman with a huge income. Let's give her a score of +2 for economic class. Mr. White Hobo Man has no savings and no income. That gives him a score of -2. Oprah has a talk show that many people watch, so we can assume that she has a very high social status. We'll just give her a score of +1, since Proverbs 31, 8 to 9 places greater emphasis on economic class than social status. Mr. White Hobo Man is viewed as a smelly, useless person. As a matter of fact, many people think he deserves his poverty because he is lazy. Therefore, we'll give his social status a score of -1. On her talk show, Oprah gets her opinions heard by many people, so much so that many politicians pay significant attention to her in the hopes of getting the support of her viewers. So we shall give Oprah a political status of +1. In contrast, no politician cares about what Mr. White Hobo Man has to say. As a matter of fact, they are probably campaigning to kick him out of sight because he makes their city look bad. So Mr. White Hobo Man scores a political status score of -1. Altogether, Oprah scores a total privilege score of +4 while Mr. White Hobo Man scores a total privilege score of -4. Thus Mr. White Hobo Man should be the focus of help and charity, because he's the one that is the underprivileged. Let's compare Oprah and the white homeless man again, but this time under the lens of social justice, which you claim Proverbs 31, 8 through 9 advocates for. For simplicity's sake, we will assume that both of them have the same sexual orientation and are both cisgendered. Oprah is black, which means she is oppressed by her country's supposed white supremacist establishment. Because social justice places high emphasis on race, we'll give her a score of -4. Meanwhile, Mr. White Hobo Man is white, so his country's supposed white supremacist establishment apparently favors him, giving him a score of +4. Regarding gender, Oprah is a woman, which means she is oppressed by the patriarchy. Since gender is a step below race on the social justice progressive stack, we'll give Oprah a score of -3. Since Mr. White Hobo Man is a man, we'll give him a score of +3. As with the previous comparison, Oprah is a rich person while Mr. White Hobo Man is a poor person. But since economic class is far less important when compared to race or gender, we will only give Oprah a +1 and Mr. Hobo Man a -1. When you compare the total privilege points for both Oprah and the white homeless man, The white homeless man has more privilege than Oprah, despite him being economically downtrodden on almost all levels. Therefore, according to social justice, the focus of your altruism and charity should be on Oprah Winfrey, not Mr. White Hobo Man. As a matter of fact, Mr. White Hobo Man is so privileged that he should take the money that he got from begging on the street and present it at the feet of Oprah before being thrown out of the building by security. As you can see, Proverbs 31, 8-9 does not advocate for social justice, as the criteria and subject for assistance are not the same. On top of that, the Bible contains many passages that are very much contradictory to most human rights movements since the Enlightenment period in the 1700s. Some of the biggest examples can be found in the books of Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. You should read them carefully before claiming the Bible encourages people to be social justice minded.